working here today with Rama and Kaden, and we would like to show you the Whiplash Turn pattern game. In this game, your dog will learn to turn away from a distraction and reorient back to you. This game turns your recall into a pattern game. It can also be used as a leave-it behavior as your dog learns to turn away from a stimulus and reorient back to the handler while working within a predictable pattern. As your dog learns the pattern, the stimulus can become a context cue for the dog to return to you. Triggers, as well as physical thresholds such as crates and doorways, can all be used as context cues for the dog to return to the handler. Let's see what it looks like. Now Rama and I are going to show you how to play the game. We're going to place a treat on the ground. I'm going to let my dog take the treat and walk behind him past his tail. The second he looks back, I will click, and then we'll place a reset treat back on the ground, and we will establish the pattern of calling him back and forth. So here we go. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, good. Touch, good. As you can see, he is establishing a nice pattern here of reorienting back to me. Once he has that pattern, we can add in a distraction. Oh, good boy. I'm going to use bowls of kibble. Now I'm going to just place these on the ground. They're lower value treats than what I have, or food than what I have. We can make this easier for our dog if we need to by elevating the bowls, covering the bowls, using a neutral object at first. Since he knows how to play, we'll go ahead and use the kibble. We're going to use our same established pattern. Rama. Good. And he kind of looked at the bowl to see what's there. Rama. Rama. Good. Rama. Good. Rama. Good. Rama. Good. Rama. Good. Rama. Good. Touch. Good. As you can see, he continued his safe, predictable pattern between the bowls. He learned that reorienting to me was more valuable than getting whatever was in that bowl. This is a first stage leave-it behavior where he simply learns that reorienting back to me is the better choice. We can continue to make that more difficult by increasing the value of what's in the bowl. We just have to remember that if he does go for something in the bowl, we just allow him to have it, and we make the criteria easier next time. The goal is not to prevent him from getting what's in the bowl, but just to have him continue the pattern and realize that it's more valuable to continue that pattern. So now let's try something else here. We're going to use Kaden as a distraction. Rama has a history of wanting to take objects from Kaden, so we're going to give Kaden a nice chew. So Kaden is now sitting on the couch with a chew, and we are going to use this as a context cue for Rama to continue our pattern. Here we go. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, good. Rama, next one. Good. Now that we have our pattern established, I'm just going to fade his name. And we're just going to click when he looks back towards us, when he reorients back. And Kaden, I'm sitting on the couch with a chew, now becomes a context cue for Rama. Good. Good. And for dogs with any type of history of wanting to guard objects or
guarding the couch, which Rama does have. That's a really nice behavior, so that if something like that bothers him, he just has a cue of coming to get mom. So Caden sitting on the couch, eating a chew, that's a cue to come get mom. And then he can have one of his own.
Now we would like to show you how whiplash turns can be used with thresholds such as a door. So here we are working with Rama and our door, and we are just establishing that once he goes through the threshold of the door, we want him to reorient back to me. So here he is actually going through the door and then continuing to play the game. We placed a reset treat and he's going back through. He does have a history with the door of knowing not to surge through it. So if he didn't, if there was an established behavior of surging through the door, we would play first with the door closed. But at this point, he's actually able to go through that threshold, and what we're hoping for is for that door to become a context cue for him to reorient back to me. So at this point, we're still using his name to call him back. And now he's offering some nice reorientation here. We can also lure him through the door with a treat, just to get him in that established pattern of going through the threshold and turning back to us. And then we can also actually play the same whiplash turn pattern through the door. Here we are playing at the gate. We wanted to show how we can start this pattern for a dog that maybe does not have a history of reorienting back to us at the gate already. So we're playing with the gate closed, just placing that treat in front of the gate, and then he is turning back to find me. So what we're hoping for is for seeing that gate itself to become a context cue to come find me. So now that he has that pattern established, I'm going to go ahead and open the gate, and then we will go ahead and try through the gate. I'm going to start with a lure. So we're just going to lure him in a circular pattern so that he actually crosses the threshold of the gate, but then turns back to me. And what we're looking for is that look back. That's what we want to mark and reward. We can lure through the threshold of the gate a couple of times to get him in an established habit of turning back to me. This is a really good game to practice for any dog that might have anxiety going through a door. It makes a door or a gate much more predictable for the dog. Sometimes Rama did have some issues with doorways. At first they were very scary for him because what happens when they go through that doorway sometimes can be very overwhelming for the dog. However, if the dog knows that once they go through that gate, they reorient back to me, then he knows exactly what to expect. So now we're practicing with a long lead. It's the same exact concept. We just want to give him a little bit more freedom here to practice. But once again, we want to practice this behavior so that he has a much more predictable pattern of behavior for going through thresholds like a gate. So instead of looking out in the environment once he goes through that gate at all of the overwhelming things that might be out there, he's simply just going to reorient back to me. Once he reorients back to me, we can give him further direction, but that's going to make it a lot easier for him to manage his anxiety in new locations. And of course, this is also a safety behavior because it also makes it much safer for a dog to reorient back to us once that gate or door is open. It may prevent them from running out. So there are multiple reasons why a nice predictable pattern is good for thresholds. Now we want to show you the same behavior with the car. Cars can also be a threshold. So he is simply loading into the car, and then when he gets out of the car, we want his first pattern to be to find mom.
And once again, we're using this as the same concept as the door and the gate, that the first thing he does when he gets out of the car is reorients to me. This is very good in new locations again, because we don't know what may be going on out in the environment when we arrive at a new location. But if the dog's first pattern of behavior is to find us, that's going to be a lot easier for the dog. It's going to cause a lot less anxiety, and it may end up being safer if our dog might want to run out of the car. Once again, you can see he's building that pattern of getting out of the car and immediately coming to find me. That's what we want to mark and reward. Here we are at the park again. So this time we wanted to show what this would look like in a more distracting environment. We're just establishing our same Whiplash Turn pattern. We are using his name at this point to help him. So that way we're using this as a recall behavior. You can see a dog off in the distance, so we are working with a trigger at a nice, safe distance where he can still work. You can see he gets hung up here a little bit. We did use his name. I'm just going to give him some time to see if he can reorient. So you can see he's focusing a little on the dogs. But there, he reorients back to me. Now we're at another location in the park. You can see the dogs in the distance there. So here has his pattern established. He's doing pretty good. So I'm going to fade his name and just actually hope that seeing those dogs becomes the context cue for turning back to me. There he is, a nice reorientation. So he is seeing the dogs in the distance and immediately reorienting back. It's exactly what we want. We can use his name to help him if we need to, but eventually what we'd like is for just the cue of seeing the dogs to be the context cue for turning back to reorient to me. So as you can see here, he's seeing the stimulus and creating a pattern of seeing the stimulus, turning away from the stimulus, and turning back to me. And he was perfect. Here we are back at the park in a parking lot with distractions. So first of all, we want to make sure our dog does understand that opening the door is not a cue for getting out of the car. So the first way we can do that is just click for some duration of waiting in the car. We can also play some up and down to see if the dog does have some focus before we ask him to get out of the car. So we're just playing a little up and down right now, seeing if he can reorient back to me with his up and down. Once again, that's building some value for just waiting in the car, and it's breaking the habit of immediately jumping out of the car. Now that it looks like he's offering me some attention, we're going to give his release word, and then he's going to find me. So there he is. He came right back. He reoriented back to mom. We're going to do it one more time. Going to start with a little up and down. So once he's offering some attention with up and down, we'll get him out of the car again. Now there is a man getting out of the truck on the far left. That's a big distraction for him. I can actually hear him over there. So he's going to get out of the car. There you see he noticed the distraction, and he recalled to his name right back to me. So there you can see the reorientation behavior. And that's our Whiplash Turn game. Thanks for watching.